this is a project for operating system and platforms. So first of all, my system is Carrier Connect 9.4.1. It is an email server, and the business purpose is creating an email server which will control sending and receiving emails from users through a domain. So what I will do is that an email server that clients will connect to a same LAN and could be able to send email messages. So first of all, this is the logical view. And here we have, first of all, the server from downwards to upwards, the server, and then the RAM, 16 GB, and then the operating system. I will have two operating systems, Windows Server 2019 and Windows 10 Pro. And then we have the Hyper-V, and then here are the machines, domain controller, storage server, PC1 and PC2. For the deployment view, I'm going to have a domain controller, which has two switches. A first switch will have PC1 and PC2. These PCs are client types, and they are both joined to the domain maraghi.com. And here are the operating system. They use Windows 10 Pro, and the startup memory 1024 MB, and the size 20 GB. We'll see it later. And the domain controller is administrator type, and it is in the maraghi.com. And for the storage server, it is a Windows Server 2019, startup memory and size. We'll see it later. Then we have these component lists. The hardware, we have four hardwares: domain controller, storage server, PC1, PC2. So for the hardware, for the domain controller, the processor is Intel Xeon 2.60 gigahertz, and the RAM 1024 MB. The disk 25 GB, and it has a network switch and a network interface card. And for the storage, the same hardware is the same. And for PC1, the processor is the same, the RAM is the same, but the disk is 20 GB. And for PC2, the same. Disk 20 GB and the RAM 1024 and the processor Intel Xeon. And then we have the software. We have domain controller, Windows Server 2019, which is Carrier Connect administrator, and the storage server has only Windows Server 2019. For the PC1, PC2, Windows 10 Pro, and they are clients. Okay. In the system build now, we have at first we have two files, which is the first one is ISO image, and the second one is for Windows 10 Pro. We'll use it later. So now creating a domain controller. First of all, we begin to create. I named it domain controller generation 1, the 1024 as I said, MB and SW01. And here is the 25 GB, and here the link of the ISO image, the first ISO image. Install, and then now we're installing. Now it's installed. Install now. And as you can see here, data center evaluation desktop. So this is for so that I don't want it on the command, like a PowerShell command. Here I used custom. I don't want to upgrade custom. And then just next password. And here it's finally good. I'm signed in. So the same steps exactly for storage. Generation 1, data center evaluation. And now we created the domain controller and storage. Now for creating PC1 and PC2. So we have the same steps, but a little different. PC1, generation 1, 1024 MB, and SW01, the same. Yes, as you can see here, here's the difference. Now we used Windows 10 Pro, not Windows Server 2019 for the PCs. Installing. I don't have a product key, so I used Windows 10 Education. Agree, custom, next. and then it's installed. Now I installed PC1. For PC2, exactly the same steps. So as you can see here, I have domain controller, storage, PC1, PC2. PC2 is installed. Okay, so now we come to the Ethernet. We want to connect these virtual machines to the internet. So first of all, as you can see here, I'm the domain controller. I go to the Ethernet, and then I go to Internet Protocol version 4. I give it the IP address, subnet mask, gateway, and DNS server. And as you can see here, I'm connected to the internet. Now I go to PC1. I do the same steps for PC1, but I change the IP address. For the DNS server, I give it the IP of the domain controller, as you can see here. So now I'm PC1. I can connect to the internet. The same steps for PC2 and storage server. As you can see, it's 14 here, and here it's 13. Now we go to create a domain. So first we go to add roles and features, and next, and then we add the Active Directory domain services. We add the feature, and then we need the group policy and management. Next, and install it. Then we have to promote the server to a domain controller. So we should add a new forest, and this new forest will be the root. So I named it maraghi.com, gave it a password. As you can see, the NetBIOS Maraghi. Next. And then I installed it, and after a while it restarted, and here it is. And then I go to change the computer name. I named it domain controller without spaces, and I joined it to the maraghi.com. So this computer is joined to the maraghi.com that I just created. And then after a while it restarts, and as you can see here, maraghi.com and domain controller. Okay, so for the users, after I created a domain, I'm going to create users. At first I created an OU. I called it Curio users. I joined it to the maraghi.com, and then inside this OU, I created 2 users, one called test and one called test99. Both joined to the domain. Password, as you can see here. Now I'm gonna add the PCs to the domain. At first, I'm going to go. I'll go to about, rename this PC, change this computer test. I'm gonna join it to the domain maraghi.com, and then it's gonna ask me for the username and password. After a while, it will restart, and I'll do the same steps for test99, which is the PC2. Test99 is for PC2, and test is for PC1. As you can see, I joined it to the domain, and after a while, it will restart, and here I can join to PC2 in the same domain. So now I was able to join PC1, PC2 to the domain. And now I'm gonna install my system, which is Curio Connect 9.4.1, which is the latest version. I went to the Chrome and installed it using Microsoft Windows. I click, as you can see here, it's installed. I run it, next, finish, and it's downloaded. Now the configuration, the easy configuration. So here is the license, next. Okay, so now it asks me for the internet host name. I'm gonna name it the same name as the computer name of the server of the computer, which is domain controller. .maraghi.com, which is the domain, and for the email domain is the normal domain, which is maraghi.com. Okay, so now I was able to join Curio Connect and join it to the domain that I created. And now I'm going to do some advanced settings, which I'm gonna add a new host and a new email exchanger. So now I'm gonna add a new host, which is called mail, and give it an different IP address. And then I'm gonna do an email exchanger and put it inside that host. So I also named it mail. Then go on the side, search maraghi.com and search for the mail, yes, and okay. That's it for the video one. As you can see, I was able to create my system, build the domain, and join the users, join my client. And for the next video, I'm gonna do the configurations of my system, configurations and how can I send messages between two users.